Hello there, welcome to my views and news. Two news stories for you. First one is about uh, aid delivery to Ethiopia. A good news for Ethiopians, for the people of Tigray. Tigray has been reporting that people dying of hunger there. Now it seems that aid delivery is going to resume, but with some conditions. Which conditions? Secondly, Ethiopia is being isolated regionally. We have been discussing that in some videos, but first good sign for Ethiopia that a top leader of a neighboring country is visiting Ethiopia. Who is he? What is the agenda of his visit? Details for you in this video. First, it was July, around 5 months ago, when USAID and World Food Program suspended delivery of aid to Ethiopia over aid theft allegations. Both USAID and WFP issued statements saying that aid was being stolen, diverted, sold at markets, even smuggled into neighboring countries. All regional governments, military officials were involved in this aid theft, and USAID, World Food Program, both suspended delivery of food aid to Ethiopia. Tigray suffered a lot in the last few months. Why? Because Tigray still heavily reliant on foreign food aid. Tigray conducted an inquiry and held some people accountable. I think more than 50. Some arrests have been made too, but mainly of lower level and mid level government officials. No top TPLF members, TDF generals have been arrested or charged with theft. So Tigray conducted an inquiry. Federal government announced to conduct inquiry. Was an inquiry conducted? We don't know. Now it is being reported by American news outlets that USAID is going to resume aid delivery to Ethiopia from next month, starting from December. Delivery of food aid to Ethiopia, to Tigray, is going to resume, but with some conditions. Third party monitoring will expand. Third party will monitor the compiling of lists, distribution of aid. It will keep the warehouses under check too. Third party, neither Ethiopia nor aid distributor. A third party will monitor the entire process, firstly. Secondly, the USAID and World Food Program in their statements a few months ago said that the lists of beneficiaries contained inflated numbers. So now government will not compile the lists of beneficiaries. USAID, World Food Program, they'll compile the lists of beneficiaries, obviously in coordination with local authorities. The final say will be with the aid distributors, USAID, aid providers, World Food Program. Secondly, the warehouses of USAID, World Food Program, will be under full control of the aid suppliers, not under the control of Ethiopian government or Tigray regional government. And lastly, USAID will have free access in Ethiopia. These are some of the conditions which have been agreed by Ethiopian government, and a good news for Ethiopians, because Tigray a few days ago reported that more than a dozen people died of hunger, which could be happening in Tigray because the region is still heavily reliant on foreign food aid. Let's hope that aid is diverted to those people who are in need. And no one is being held accountable in Ethiopia, by the way, viewers. People died here in the war. No one held accountable for human rights abuses. No one held accountable for aid thefts. Nothing is being done in terms of accountability. And resumption of food aid is necessary because people are dying. So government did not take any major action in terms of accountability, but there was pressure upon international community, upon USAID, World Food Program, that they should resume delivery of food aid because people are dying. So that is why resumption of food aid next month. Uh, One thing which I want to point out is that Ethiopian government will have to be, it should be careful, because when you give unlimited, unhindered access to your organizations, you should monitor the activities of the organization. So, because in these organizations, people work for governments too. I have been in touch with some people. So I know that through these aid organizations, the Western countries collect intelligence. So I think people know that. It's not a secret. So government should provide access, unhindered access to USAID. At the same time, government should ensure that these aid organizations are not involved in any activities which are against the interests of Ethiopia. Secondly, viewers, is Ethiopia gradually coming out of isolation? A top neighboring country leader is going to visit Ethiopia. He's visiting Ethiopia reportedly. Who is he? The man who is visiting Ethiopia is in need of recognition from neighboring countries. He's in need of this recognition. Why? Because he's from Sudan. Who is he? He's General Al Burhan. Abdul Fattah Al Burhan, Sudanese military chief, is visiting Ethiopia reportedly. He's accompanied by his foreign minister, governor of Darfur region, and head of military intelligence. Why is he visiting Ethiopia? Does he need Ethiopia for recognition, or is it acknowledgement of Ethiopian role in this region? Well, firstly, we must not forget that Ethiopia is the last country in the region which Al Burhan chose to visit. He visited Egypt first. I'm talking about neighbors. Egypt first. Then he visited South Sudan. After that, he went to Eritrea. Then he went to Kenya. 2 days ago, he was in Kenya, where he met with Ruto. And the two agreed on calling a session of IGAD and working for inclusive dialogue to resolve the conflict in Sudan. And after Kenya, now he's visiting Ethiopia. So you can see the priority. At number one, Egypt, then South Sudan, then Eritrea, then Kenya and Ethiopia. By the way, both Ethiopia and Kenya proposed military intervention in Khartoum, which was rejected by Al Burhan. Al Burhan rejected Kenya as well, as Kenya was leading an IGAD committee to mediate between Al Burhan and RSF. But I think Al Burhan has realized that he needs the support of neighboring countries to survive, because RSF has taken control of large parts of Sudan, Western Sudan, Darfur, parts of Umdurman, Khartoum, Bari, under RSF control. Al Burhan's government is limited to Eastern Sudan, Northern Sudan, to some extent Southern Sudan, which are mainly inhabited by tribes and tribal leaders. So he and government center of government headquarters has been shifted from Khartoum to Port Sudan. So Burhan wants neighboring countries, that neighboring countries should acknowledge, they should accept Burhan as the leader, as the only leader, legitimate leader, legitimate head of Sudan. That is why he's visiting neighboring countries. He does not want neighboring countries to be in alliance with rapid support forces. Though he accused Kenya that Kenya was backing RSF. He had doubts about Ethiopia too, that Ethiopia was hand in glove with Houthi of rapid support forces. But I think after he visited Kenya, maybe he was told by Ruto that he should visit Ethiopia too. He is in Ethiopia. It's a good sign for Ethiopia that at least Ethiopia is coming out of this isolation a little, because still regionally Ethiopian position is very weak. Eritrea, Somalia, Sudan, uh, then other countries uh, Djibouti to some extent, not on good terms with Ethiopia. Djibouti to some extent, because we've seen statements between Djibouti and Ethiopian government about port use. Djibouti rejected some reports by Ethiopian state media. Eritrea, Somalia on one page, Sudan joined to Egypt as well. Kenya, Ethiopian competitor, wants to replace Ethiopia, wants to be the center of the region. There are issues, but let's hope that PM Abiy's government now realizes that it needs to come out of this isolation. Al Burhan should be warmly welcomed in Ethiopia, because Ethiopia has not been found actively supporting rapid support forces so far. So still Ethiopia can mend ties with Al Burhan. Let's see how Burhan will be welcomed in Ethiopia. Will there be any bilateral agreements or any major announcements in Addis Ababa while Burhan is visiting there? But in coming videos about this important development in the Horn of Africa. Thank you for watching.